What if Garrosh united Kobolds, Murlocs, and other starting zone races into a Mongrel Horde? Believe it or not, this was a legitimate thing Blizzard considered as a probable storyline for Garrosh after Mists of Pandaria. It was eventually scrapped in favor of the Iron Horde in Warlords of Draenor though. But there is some concept art of what the beefed up versions of the low-level mobs would look like as part of the Mongrel Horde. Personally, I think it's an awesome idea, but maybe a little too silly for Blizzard, who takes its story seriously when it involves major lore characters. And I think this idea would pass the line of a serious main story only, since it involves such a major character like Garrosh. I could see Blizzard doing something like this as kind of a quest chain with a not so important character in some random zone, but not an expansion revolving around the idea. Actually, an idea like this is in the game already, albeit on a smaller scale than what Garrosh could put together. In Lochmodan, there is a small quest chain called the Axis of Awful, where gnolls, murlocs, trogs, and kobolds were banding together, and you have to go in and sabotage their alliance. Which you do very easily, since those four races are not the smartest things in the world. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it would be an awesome idea as an expansion, but I know so many people would get super upset if it happened. Just look at Mists of Pandaria. The general feeling towards the expansion by the average player was that it was a joke made serious, since pandas were once an April Fool's Day joke, and was heavily criticized at the time for that and various other reasons. But for the lore nerds, the people who actually paid attention to the story, it was one of the most lore-filled expansions ever. That included a lot of really well thought out stories and introduced many interesting characters and ideas. That is to say, the average player would most likely shit on an expansion revolving around a Mongrel Horde for the idea alone, regardless of how Blizzard actually handled the story, because it's happened before. But I digress. Mongrel Horde is an interesting idea I hope Blizzard uses in the future in some way or another anyway. Like maybe adding Ettins and Centaurs to the mix as well. Centaurs are plenty strong on their own based on lore. They nearly wiped out the Tauren, but were stopped thanks to Thrall's interference. And Taurens are probably one of the most naturally strongest races in lore. In-game they're toned down a bit, but in lore, each one is like almost 10 feet tall, and absolutely physically stronger than every other playable race. And centaurs are supposed to be even stronger than that. The only reason they aren't a threat is because they're all pretty dumb and hyper-aggressive. So they're relegated to starting zone fodder like the other dumb races. Speaking of which, the gnolls were an actual legitimate threat too at one point. 75 years before the First War, a united band of them nearly took out the humans of Stormwind. The humans only won because the king of Stormwind at the time led a raid against the gnolls' leader and killed him. Without a leader, the dumb gnolls fell to infighting and broke apart, allowing the more organized humans to easily hunt them down and chase them out. And you can't forget about the Ettins. These giant two-headed monsters are already utilized in various places around the world. The Forsaken have a couple of them pulling wagons across Silverpine, so it's not too far-fetched to think that Garrosh wouldn't be able to recruit the Ettins if he was building an army of outcast races. With the raw power of the Centaurs and the Ettins, the Goblin technology, and the numbers of the smaller races, a Mongrel Horde led by Garrosh could actually be a legitimate threat. So, what do you guys think? Mongrel Horde a great idea? Or would it be the end of Blizzard? I personally think Hogger as an actual raid boss wouldn't be half bad.